Let me tell you one of the great secrets of successful business is successful businesses love their customers. The starting point of all successful business is an idea that someone has to take care of customers, to satisfy customers, to please customers. You know, Tom Peters wrote his best-selling book some years ago, In Search of Excellence. And many years later, many of the companies had dropped out, many of the principles had changed. And he was asked, what's the most important of the 8 principles they identified in terms of excellent company? He said, without hesitating, an obsession with customer service. Is loving the customers, wanting to serve the customers. So what we know is that the customer is the most important person in the market for your products and services. The customer is the king. The customer is the queen. In a free market society, the customer is the key. Now, the entrepreneurial business must be intensely focused on the prospective customer. You must be absolutely clear about your target customer. The ability to find a customer and to sell to that customer and sell again and get that customer to refer you to clients is the central focus of entrepreneurial activity. If you can do that, you can succeed, and if you can't, you can't. So, the starting point of great success is for you to determine your customer. Now, everyone is in the business of customer satisfaction in some way. Sometimes I'll ask a large audience, I'll say, how many people here are in customer service? And, you know, a few hands go up. I say, oh, really? The truth is that every single person at every single position in the business is either serving customers or serving people who are serving customers. Even managers are serving their staff. Even internal people are serving someone else. We're all in the business of serving others in some way. And interestingly enough, the entire quality of your life will be determined by the quality of your service. So in identifying your target market, you must clearly identify the very best customers for your product and services and then focus on those customers. Remember, you may have hundreds of thousands or millions of people in the market, but only certain ones of those are the very best ones for you. And the greater clarity you have with regard to that, the more efficient and effective all of your business will operate. Start off by defining your product or service from the customer's point of view. A friend of mine used to say that if you can see Joe Jones through Joe Jones' eyes, you can sell Joe Jones what Joe Jones buys. So look at your product or service from the viewpoint of your customer. Ask yourself this question: what does your product do for your ideal customer? If you think of the very best customer, the one who can and will buy from you the soonest and pay, is what does your product do? Not what your product is, but what does it do for the customer? Number 2 question to ask is, what benefits does your customer receive? What specific benefits does your customer receive from buying and using your product or service? You must be clear about that, and the customer must be clear. Here's an interesting discovery, is all problems in buying start with vague understanding, fuzzy understanding. The customer's not clear about what the product will do or how he or she will benefit. Your job is to answer that in advance. Great question, especially in business. What problems does your product solve? We say the customers don't buy features, they buy benefits. They don't buy products, they buy solutions. What needs of your customer does your product satisfy? Is it for food? Is it for prestige? Is it for security? Is it for peace of mind? What needs of your customer does your product satisfy? And the customer must be clear, and the customer can only be clear if you're clear. How does your product improve the customer's life or work? This is the critical question, because in the final analysis, customers buy one thing. They buy improvement. They want to know that they will be better off after having purchased your product or service than they were before. And you must be absolutely clear about the improvement that will take place in the mind and heart of your target market. So you need to define the ideal customer for what you sell. And we talk about the ideal customer. We talk about the perfect customer, the ideal customer that if you could just choose the very best customers, which one would you choose? And you must be clear about that. So ask yourself this question. What is his or her age? How old would your ideal customer be? You know, in television, they try to get the 18 to 34 age limit. This age is a tremendous buying market for cars, clothes, fashions, music. Then there's the 34 to 54. These people are more mature. They buy homes, furniture, vacations, and so on. What is the ideal age of your ideal customer? What is his or her education? Is your ideal customer well-educated, average education? Do you know that the home shopping channels on television aim for people with high school or less education? They look for people, in many cases, with 2 years of high school and not more, and they aim all their products at that level, and any product that goes above that level doesn't sell well on television. What is his or her occupation or business? What does he or she do? Are they doctors, lawyers, architects, engineers, gas station owners? Are they sales people? Are they professionals of some kind? Who's your ideal customer in terms of what they do today? Another question is what is his or her income or financial situation? In other words, how much money does the person have? How much do they earn? How much disposable income do they have? It's interesting, they just looked at the purchases of recreational vehicles. They find that recreational vehicles are selling at a rate of about $400,000 a year. The average person who buys a recreational vehicle earns $54,000 a year. That determines all their advertising, promotion, pricing, terms. They know that this is the average income of their customer, and everything that they do is aimed at that particular financial income level. And finally, what is his or her situation today in life or work? Is he or she happy, discontented, moving, changing? Is he or she ambitious? Is he or she going through a problem situation? In other words, what is the situation, the current situation of your target market, your ideal customer? Now here's a great question. What must your ideal customer be convinced of to buy your product or service? What must they be convinced that they will get from your product or service if they actually buy it? So in order to answer this question, you have to determine the specific benefit that your customer is seeking at the moment. What are they looking for? For example, I talk to life insurance audiences. Life insurance audiences must understand they don't sell life insurance, they sell security and peace of mind. The benefit that people pay for when they buy life insurance is the peace of mind they have knowing that their family is protected and provided for if something happens to them. That's why the top real estate or the top life insurance salespeople never even mention their companies when they're selling life insurance. They simply mention the benefit. Another question you have to ask is, what are the most important benefits you offer to your ideal customer? Now, your product or service probably has several benefits, but of all of those, what is the most important, or what are the most important to your ideal customer? Another question, what are the most pressing needs that your product satisfies? Features arouse interest, but needs arouse emotion. What are the needs that people have for health, happiness, survival, security, wealth, higher income, comfort, leisure? You must be clear about the need that people have. Now here's a basic rule, is you do not try to create a need, you find a need that you can satisfy better than your competitors, and then you convince your ideal customers that your product or service is a better satisfaction of that need than anything else being offered. Now, define your value offering in 5 to 10 words. Remember, you've heard the old story about the elevator speech, that a person should be able to describe why someone should invest in their business in an elevator ride. You should be able to write down your value offering to your ideal customer on the back of a business card. Everyone in your company should be able to do it. If you don't know what it is, and you can't write it in 5 to 10 words, how can you possibly convey it to your customer? This is very important. Finally, why should your customer buy from you rather than from someone else? In my seminars, I will ask these 3 questions. I'll say, why should a customer buy your product or service at all? Second of all, why should they buy it from your company? Third of all, why should they buy it from you rather than from someone else or some other company? These are really important questions for you to ask and answer. Now, the next thing you have to do is determine the location of your ideal customer. Where is your ideal customer located geographically? Are they in the east or in the west? Small towns or large towns? Fast-growing towns or declining towns? Where is your customer, in the suburbs or in the inner city? Where is your ideal customer located geographically? This determines your sales efforts, advertising, promotion, delivery, everything else. Next is, where does your customer live or work? What kind of businesses does he or she live or work in? What kind of areas do they live in? Where do they work? What is the traffic patterns? What is their transportation? How do they get to and from work, and so on? Another question is, where does your customer buy your product or service? If your product or service is something that's been in the market for a while, where do they go to buy it? Interesting example. IBM, for many years, identified their customers as being in businesses. They sent out their sales professionals to call on businesses. Over time, they found that more and more customers were buying from large electronic dealerships. So IBM and Apple and other companies began to, for the first time, offer their products in the electronic supermarkets, the electronic stores, because that's where customers were buying their product or service now. Where is your customer located in a business or organization? It's interesting. Some people sell to people in a particular function: the accounting function, the sales function, the delivery function, the purchase management function. Finding out where they're located in the business is very important because it enables you to target that market and call only on those people who are ideal for you. I'll give you an example. When I was selling sales training, what I found was that my customer was the sales manager or the vice president in charge of sales. That was my target market. And I did everything possible to find out who they were and how I could get to them, because those were the ones that made the buying decision for my product. Where is your customer located in a business or organization? Now, the next area, we've talked about where your customer is when does your ideal customer buy from you? Now, this is important because customers don't buy all year round for many products or services. They buy at a certain time. So a question you need to ask is, what has to happen in the life or work of your customer for them to buy your product or service? For example, if you sell cars, it may be that they have to reach the point where their car, in their estimation, is old, or it's falling apart, or it needs excessive repairs, or something else. When that happens, they decide to buy a car. Or if you sell telecommunications equipment, when they open a new office or start a new business, then when that happens, they look to buying everything that they need for a particular business. What has to happen for them to buy? What has to happen mentally for them to buy? Now, the second thing you need to ask is, what time of the year or season or month or even week does your customer buy? Many retail businesses, by the way, are structured around the 1st and 15th of the month because that's when people get paid. 1st or 15th of the month is when they get the money and go out and buy. Many restaurants are full after the 1st and 15th of the month and slow in other parts of the month. Many dealerships of all kinds find that people will make their major purchase decisions at the end of the month rather than during the month. So what time of day, week, month, or season does your customer buy? And finally, what has to happen in your customer's life to trigger a buying decision? What has to happen? When they get married, they buy certain things. When they have a child, they buy certain things. When they move to a new home, they buy certain things. When they change jobs or arrive in town, they buy certain things. When they get a raise or a bonus or an annual bonus, they buy certain things. So think about what has to happen in your customer's life to trigger them to buy at a certain time, and then focus your sales efforts at that time. Now, a really important part of your target market is to determine your customer's buying strategy. What we find is that everybody has a habitual way of buying a particular product or service. For example, A person who buys a new car, they have found, goes to 10 different dealerships. Then they select 3 dealerships that they focus on, and they finally buy their car from one of those dealerships. So if a person comes to you and you're selling cars, and they say, this is the first dealership I visited, it's going to be almost impossible for you to get them to buy from you at that moment because their habit is to go to 10 dealerships. The best thing you can do is get them to come back to you before they make a final buying decision. So how does your customer buy your product or service? How do they go about it? Do they think it through in advance? Do they gather research on the internet or telephone calls? Do they ask friends and get referrals and so on? What is the process that people go through? And a good way to find this out is to ask people, what process do you go through to make a buying decision like this? And then find out what it is and see if you can't structure your sales activities so they're in harmony with your customer's way of buying. Another question is, how has your customer bought similar products or services in the past? If you've bought a home like this in the past, Mr. Customer, what process did you go through to make this buying decision? And they'll say, well, first of all, I did this, and I did that, and I checked this, and I checked that. They will tell you what you have to do to harmonize your strategy with their strategy. Ask your customer, what's your buying strategy? Each person has a strategy, Mr. Customer. What is yours? What's the process? What are the steps that you go through? And finally, ask your customer how they go about making a final buying decision. In other words, what is the critical factor in making a buying decision for something like this? Have them tell you what it is and see if you can't offer that to them. Now, imagine placing an ad in the newspaper for your perfect customer. You know, sometimes we run ads for our product or service. Instead, run an ad as if you are hiring a perfect person for your company. But in this case, you're advertising for perfect customers. We are seeking customers who have this need and are in this income category, who like this type of quality or service, who require these benefits or need satisfactions. Describe your perfect customer as though you were going to run an ad for perfect customers. How would you describe your perfect customer? Remember, clarity in terms of target marketing is everything. The second is, what prospective customers are the most likely to buy from you? If you could ask prospective customers 2 or 3 questions, what 2 or 3 questions would you ask them that would give you the answers to most indicate that these people are ready to buy from you in the very near future? Many of the salespeople I work with can cold call and phone a prospect and ask them 2 or 3 questions and know almost immediately if this is a good prospect to follow up on in a personal meeting. You should be able to do the same thing. Finally, what are the most important qualities of an ideal customer? Right? Make a list. My ideal customers have the following qualities. They like my business, they respect our industry, they make this kind of money, they have this level of education, they like high quality, they value customer service. In other words, describe them exactly, and that enables you to target your market. It enables you to focus in on the customers who are most likely to buy from you the soonest. Your ability to clearly define and determine the very best customers for your product and service will determine your success in business. So keep asking, how could you find more perfect customers for your product? How could you create new customers for your product? Define your unique selling proposition. What is the one thing that you offer that nobody else offers that is of real value to your customers that would cause them to buy from you rather than anyone else? And once you've defined your unique selling proposition, put it into every single ad. Put it into every single letter, every single proposal. Put it on your billboard. Communicate this key benefit in every customer contact. Remember this, your ability to clearly define and focus on the customers who can most benefit the most rapidly from your product or service is essential to your business success. So remember the question. If someone were to ask you at a business meeting, who is your target customer? Who is your ideal customer for what you sell? What would be your answer?